and engineer Ahmed Helmi as well, the Africa manager. And I have added the link for the different parts or the rest of the webinars for you to join, and we would love to see you in the other parts of the series. Okay, let's go to our agenda today. We'll start with a brief introduction about the scientific research process, or why do we need the scientific research communication. Then we'll go to discover the different types of references or research papers that you'll find. How will you use the library solutions for your research? Then how will you start reading a research topic, and how to read a scientific paper, and at the end we'll handle your questions and answers. Okay. To start, I know that many of you are still undergrad students, and that you face or struggle with different challenges, especially in this time of online learning, and that you have classes, many assignments and exams. For those of you who are senior students, you have the graduation project, you struggle finding trusted data. You need to manage your time because you have too many things to do. And for you who graduate and decide to work on research, all of these things you need to know or to learn the research skills or the academic research skills to benefit you in all of these steps in your undergrad life or afterwards when you graduate. That's why we decided to initiate this series of webinars to teach you the academic research skills that will facilitate your learning and lead to your personal growth as students or as graduates afterwards. So what is academic research? A research in general is the collection of studies that you collect to conduct a specific experiment or for a purpose. So you have a purpose, or you have an idea, or you need to do something. So you go collect the data that other researchers did before, and then you have trusted data you can rely on and start your idea or your project. Why is this important? So the scientific method ensures the trustworthiness or the reliability of data. So when you go collect scientific data or academic data, or you know that you are collecting information from published studies or reliable studies, you will be sure that you have trusted data, or you have data that you can rely on and work on your project, and be sure that the results you will get are reliable, or you'll be confident with your results or your data. The other thing is that the academic research goes through a process called peer review process, and this peer review process also defend against the misinformation or the collection of misleading data. We'll talk about this process in a while, but as a brief introduction for you, it's the process of reviewing the data before publishing it. So you as a researcher, you can go publish your data. You can go and like do a research or a project or anything and then get results and go publish them. That's not the case. You usually send your manuscript, or you report about your data, your results, what you did in a manuscript, and then submit it to a journal. The journal or the editors take your manuscript and send it to other researchers who work on your field. They review the paper, they send you some comments, they make sure that your data are valid. If they have comments or edits, you have to edit these comments, and they don't publish the paper until they make sure that everything is settled or is valid. That's why we always say that the peer review articles or the academic research articles are reliable or are trustworthy. Okay, so we knew that we have to learn the academic research skills, and when we try to submit an assignment or do research in any field, we have to go and search for the academic papers. Why we should use the credible academic research or the credible academic papers? Why don't we just go to Google and search for any for our topic and find any results and then use them in our research? You'll see now some pictures, and if I can ask you to share or to write in the chat box, what do you see, or what do you think has happened when we didn't use credible research or we didn't use trusted data? What could that lead to? Yes, as I see, some of you have written, this is disastrous. That's what happened when we don't use credible research. We get to use misleading information or untrusted data or misinformation, and that will lead to ripple effects after that, and that's very challenging. So before using any information or any papers, or while you are still searching for information, you have to determine lots of things before you decide this reference or this resource will be useful for you or not. For example, you have to first you have to determine if this information is reliable or not. As we said, is this research biased or not? Because sometimes you'll find a good paper, but it's biased. For example, the paper is talking about a COVID-19 vaccine, but the paper is very biased towards the effectiveness of this vaccine. It didn't mention anything about any other data that was published, so you'll take their information while it's biased. So it's not a good paper. You have to determine if the author is reputable or not, if the publisher itself is reputable or not. We just talked about the peer review process, and you have to know that some publishers are not, or the unreputable publishers, they get to publish papers which are like we call them predatory journals. They publish papers with misleading information or misinformation or opinions or some bad data, and that's why we have to search for the credible publishers or the credible research, or we have to use the credible research academic platforms, not any Google or not the Google Scholar, for example, or not the Google platform, for example. Moreover, some fields goes really very, very fast. So if I'm a student, if I'm a medicine student, for example, and I'm doing an assignment, or I'm trying to write a paper on any topic, for example, I can't use a paper that was published in 1990 or in 2000 or 2001. In these 20 years, maybe lots of new inventions or recent publications have been published, and the field goes very, very fast. So I can't rely on data that was published 20 years ago or something. In other fields, you can. So according to, or depends on your field, on your topic, on your project, you decide which papers you will use, which journals you can select as references, which authors are reputable. And after all of that, you decide if this reference will be a good reference for you or not. All in all, what should we learn from this, or what should we know from this? That if we're using or if we are doing research, we have to use credible platforms where we will find credible research, or will be sure that the data will get are trusted data, or our data was high quality, or were published in high quality journals. And that we're using recent data. We are not relying on very old or obsolete data. And that's it. So in this series, or in this webinars, we'll try to teach you how to use different platforms that are specialized or that are general, where you'll use to search for your topic, to select the papers, how to select the papers, and when after selecting the papers, how to read the papers and how to extract information from the paper to write your manuscript or your assignment or anything. And what are the different types of references you will find.
Shema, okay. If I may add one point to this slide.
Yes.
Yes. So talking to all of your professors across South Africa and across Africa in general, I think I have a very clear message from them to the undergrads. Although maybe some point, if you're an undergrad student, you don't think that your assignment or your research will basically lead to a disaster, because nobody will look at it but your professor or but your colleagues. But that's actually not true. Every paper is written, it somehow finds its way to the internet. And it is very easy to disseminate untrustworthy information. And it is very easy to build a habit young enough to go easy with the information, or to rely on the easiest information that you just Google, and it's not really trustworthy, and you really did not check its credibility, and you're just using it because you're pressed in time. So I think the message here from your lecturers is, don't be part of the problem. You have to really put some effort in this, because you really need to respect your own work, so that you don't write in any single information that you're not sure about, that you cannot back up by proper referencing. And that's not only for research, that's using proper reference, using a proper engineering handbook, for instance. You go to the latest or the most recent trustworthy book or reference to get the information from, because you need to be credible in everything you write and everything you submit. So you can build up that habit early on. So when you graduate, either you're doing research or you're actually working in the field, every number, every information, every sentence that you put into a report, into a research, into a paper, into a book, or just in a manual, for instance, it needs to be credible, it needs to be reliable, and you can support it with evidence. So I think here it is still very important to build the skills and to build this habit of only relying on trustworthy information and trustworthy references early on, and to be able to reference and to be able to support any claim that you put in a report or in an answer with a proper source. I think that relies to all of us, whether we're undergrads or postgrad researchers. Thank you, Shema. Please carry on.
Exactly as Helmi said, all of us will need to build the skills or to learn the skills, not just as I'm a student so I can write anything. No, we should definitely write the proper references or citations as we've just mentioned. Okay, now I know that some of you will ask, okay, why is there this whole process? Why don't we like write what the research we've done and just publish it? What is the role of the publishers, or why is this process a bit complicated? So this is the main role, or the 4 main roles of the scientific publishers, or the scientific publishing process. It works on registering the time of a publication, or of a scientific results, or of research, and it reviews the accuracy of the data, and certifies legitimacy in the field. It also make the content, or the research content available for other researchers or students, so you can discover and find the new or the recent inventions or publications that are there. And at the end, it also preserves the scientific records for the posterity of science. So there is a role for publishers, and that's why we go through this process. And at the end, we get, as we said, credible information, credible data, and trustworthy data. Okay, we've now knew why these skills and how would that benefit us as students. Let's now go to know what are the different types of references or papers I'll find as a student when I'll start searching for my topic or for an assignment. Okay, here you can see some pictures of the contents you'll find. Before starting, can I ask you to share with me, I know that many of you has or have started searching for their assignments or projects or anything. What did you find? Or where did you get your data? Or how do you collect your data for an assignment, for example, or for a paper? What do you prefer to use? Books or what? Just type in the chat box for us to see what do you use. Okay, I know that some of you use books or try to search for books. Some use Google Scholar. Some of you search, okay, some of you search on Google Scholar and find papers. And some go to a journal and search in the journal. Some search in ResearchGate. Okay, that's nice. When we start searching in any platform, and we write keywords on for our topic or something, we will find different kinds of or different types of content, and we should know the difference between all of these types to know how to extract the information from them, and to know which type of these papers should I search for when I wanna find specific information, for example. So we have lots of types. We have books, book chapters, we have journal articles, conference proceedings, theses, patents, newspapers, reports. We have too many types. We'll now spend some time knowing the difference between all of these content types and when should we search for them. And then we'll see how to extract information from a paper when we search for it. First, before we go to the different types of papers, we should know that the literature or the academic literature is usually divided to 3 types of literature. We have the primary literature, the secondary literature, and the tertiary literature. What's the primary literature? The primary literature is the papers that contain the original research or the new scientific discoveries. So me as a researcher, I go, I think of an idea and then write an outline for my experiment or anything. I go collect data, or I go to the laboratory and do the experiment. I get results. So I have to report about these results or this experiment in a paper and publish it. This is called the primary literature. And this can be in, as an example, there are many examples for that, like the original research papers, or the dissertations or thesis dissertations, if you are a senior student or a graduate student, or the technical reports or the conference proceedings. All in all, the primary literature or papers that contain the original research or original ideas. Okay. The secondary literature are the papers that try to summarize this primary literature to address a point of or a topic from one perspective or one point of view. So, for example, I try to write a paper that summarizes what was published about COVID-19 and how it affected, for example, the mental health of people. So I go and search for all the papers that were published and or that addressed the COVID-19 and how it affected the mental health of people, and collect these data and try to summarize them and write a new manuscript or a new paper or a review paper that handles this issue or this topic, and this will called a literature review paper or a secondary literature paper. The secondary literature but also have many examples like the literature review articles and the books. Then comes the tertiary literature. The tertiary literature is a broader reference or a reference that's a summary or a condensed version of a topic. So it relies on the primary and secondary literature as references, like the textbooks, the dictionaries, the encyclopedias. In anything of that, you will find research papers as references or books. They try to collect the data or all the data that were published about a topic and summarize it in one reference, like textbook or something. So when I know that, I'll be able to search for the proper reference. So if I need original data, I'll go search for research papers. If I need to read abroad, to read about a topic from a broader perspective, or read a paper that collects data about a topic, to read it first and then start working on the topic. So I'll have to go find a book or a textbook or a literature review paper to read it first and understand the topic, and then go work on the topic. Okay. Okay, we now knew the difference between the different types of literature. We'll then discuss each type of paper or of reference, and know when should we go search for this reference. We'll start with the books or book chapters. And as you see, this is a book, Advances in Energy Research, for example. It's a textbook or a book. And the books are or contain, as we said, secondary literature or tertiary literature. So they contain older information. They are not published periodically or in short periods. It sometimes takes like years or a long time to publish a paper or a textbook. I'm sorry. So it contains older information, but it contains broader perspective or a more complete picture about one topic. So if I'm searching for a reference to write literature review or to learn about a topic from the beginning, I have to go and find book chapter or textbook because it's broader and I can learn from it more than the more specific ones. Then comes the journals. In the journals, I'll find papers, research papers or review articles, as we said. The journals, in contrast to the books, are published periodically. So you'll find some journals that are published annually, quarterly, or monthly. So you'll find more recent data. If you're searching for recent data or for original research, as we said, definitely you have to search for journal papers or journal articles. Also, the journal papers go through the peer-reviewed process. So you'll be sure that this data is credible or reliable. You have reliable data or high-quality data. But you have to know that the research papers or the journal articles contain more detailed description about technical detail or technical details about or the method, for example, about a topic, not the background information. So if you are searching for a specific data or more detailed data about one topic, you have to go and search for journal articles. If you're searching for background data or more broad data, or you need to get the whole picture of a topic, you search for the books or book chapters.
Before we continue, I have an interesting question here in the Q&A that maybe is good to say out loud. The question goes as, who should write a review paper for publication purpose for undergrads, postgrads, or faculty and professors? If I do a review for a publication, will it be the best way to deepening my understanding in the subject matter? So I think this question maybe has two ways to, or two topics to discuss. One, as a young researcher and as a junior researcher, what is the difference between, for instance, taking an assignment of writing a review paper on one of the different papers that I'm assigned to as a young researcher or as a student, and what is the difference between review papers that I write as a student and peer review, and when is it that peer reviews happen? Shana?
Yes, I'm with you.
Do you want me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
Yes, so there are, the question and my understanding, let me rephrase the question. There are two things here. One, it's review papers, and two, it's peer review. Okay, so who does write review papers and when do we write review papers? And sometimes do we publish review papers or not? Okay, that's one part. And the other part is when in the cycle is the peer review, and what is the value of review papers and what is the value of peer review? I know that you've answered some of this already, but maybe the clarification would be good.
Yes. Okay, I know it's somehow confusing for you, but okay. I have this slide. What's the review article and what's the peer review process? They are totally different things. The review article, we said, for example, a journal can invite one of the top researchers in a field and ask him to write a review article about a specific topic or a specific point in a topic. So, for example, I'm one of the top researchers working on, let's say, COVID-19. So the journal asks me to write a review paper on how COVID-19 affected any patients, or how COVID-19 affected our economy, or how COVID-19, anything, any point in the field. And they asked me to write a review paper in this point, okay? So I go and rely, or I go search for all the research papers that were published talking about this specific point, and I try to extract information and summarize what was published before, and write a good review paper that reviews what was published in the literature, and I can write, or I can reflect with my personal opinion, or how I see this topic, or this point, or how it's going, or anything, and I divide it with a good outline, and write headings and everything, and then it's a review paper. So if I'm a student, I go and find this review paper, I can read it and understand what was published without going and read all these research papers that were collected or that were summarized. Okay, this is a review article. So a review article is a paper that reviews one point in a field, or reviews a field from one perspective. Okay, the peer review process is another thing.
Can I ask here? Can I ask here? So the question of who writes review articles are basically
top researchers in a field,
yes.
Or anyone can write. Yes, anyone can write a review article, but usually they are experienced researchers in the field, because I can't write a review article if I'm not experienced in the field, or if I'm new in the field.
So a review article to be published, a review article to be published is either a top researcher that has volunteered to, or was interested to write a review paper, or he was asked by the journal itself.
By the journal, yes. Yes.
To write the review paper, to review the article. And how credible and how useful it is for me to rely on a review paper when I'm doing my own research.
Okay. It's important for me to read review articles at the beginning, or if I'm new in the field. It's better to start reading review articles than reading research papers, because the review articles will summarize or will be like, or will give me a broader perspective about one field more than research papers. So I can read one review article, or one important review article, and understand what happens in this field. So I get the whole picture, and then I can go and search for research papers to understand more, or to learn more about the detailed or learn more details or something. So in the beginning, for me to work in a field, in the beginning, it's better to start reading review articles to understand the whole picture, and then narrow down my search and learn from the research papers.
So let me
clear
put this,
now?
Yeah, so let me put this in sequence. I'm an undergrad student. I'm I've been asked to write a paper about a topic, or I was asked myself to write a review paper about the topic. Of course, as an undergrad, my paper will not be published, because I'm still an undergrad, but it will be looked upon by my professor who has assigned me this. So the purpose of me writing this review paper is to deepen my own understanding of the topic, and also to demonstrate that understanding to my professor and to my colleagues, and to try to demonstrate how deep I've been able to read and understand on that topic in different papers. A good guide to start my search from is to find proper review articles that has already been published in proper scientific journals by top researchers that have reviewed as many articles as they wanted into that field, and demonstrated and summarized a little bit of the findings of these articles. So I can use them as a guide to understand a little bit more about the subject area, and to look at the references as well as a guide for the different articles that I can read in full length when I'm writing my own review paper and submitting it to my department and to my professor. Is my understanding here correct?
Yes, exactly. Yes, if you start reading the review articles, you can get like a guide. You can use them as a guide for you to understand the topic in broad, and then to know their references, and you can use them afterwards in your paper, or search for them, or search for similar papers or other papers you want, and know how you will collect your data and how you will write your review or your paper as a student.
Understood. Khaled, I know that you are a proper researcher on your own right. Do you want to add any of these points here?
Yeah, so just hello everyone. My name is Khaled. I work with Elsevier also in Core Solutions. I just had a very few points to add in here. So just we need to differentiate between two things. Am I at this stage still reading about a topic and I'm still gathering my own information, or am I already starting to organize the knowledge into writing itself? So at the stage of reading, I need to differentiate between the different, what each different academic source can really give me. As we mentioned a few slides ago by Shaimat here, is that, so I'm looking for something that is well established and very well founded in the field. I would usually go for secondary information sources like books, for example, where they will give me what's already been very well established already in the field. If I'm looking for cutting edge and what's really new research that people are still working on and are still developing, I'll be looking into the journal papers themselves or conference papers at times. So these, the idea of those journal papers and conference papers, they are called science communications after all. This means that whenever somebody has a eureka moment or has discovered something new or exciting or has something to add to our collective knowledge in a specific field, they would publish it first in a journal paper or sometimes a conference paper to that matter, but it would be published as a research paper. Whenever a field gets too much activity and too much research being done in different fields and many new ideas being added, this is where editors ask prominent researchers in the field to start summarizing what has been established so far in a review paper. So somehow, if you are looking between being very new, I would be looking into journals. If I'm looking for very well established, I'll be looking into books. If I'm looking for ideas that have already, very new ideas that have already amalgamated or have been collected together, at that stage, I'll be looking at review papers as a source of information myself. And this is now me considering myself a reader. I'm just thinking with you now where I will go to. So if I want a summary of what has been established in the new research so far, this is where you actually go to a review paper to read it, especially that it would be written by a very prominent researcher where the editors themselves have asked them to please put us a summary of all the new ideas that has been done in the field. That review paper will not have a new idea that has not been published before, unlike original research articles. So that's all discussing me being a reader. If I'm considering myself to be a researcher now and I want to communicate new findings I have found, then yes, publishing a paper is something that I can do. And we've seen many undergraduate students working with their advisors and they are publishing research papers because they've been working on an interesting research project, or they've been working on a graduation project or an undergrad dissertation, whatever the form of research that you've done as an undergrad. If you have interesting results that actually add up to the science, then yes, you should consider communicating it with the entire academic community, and you should consider writing a paper on your own. However, as an undergrad student, that would not be the day-to-day case with our work. We will be writing a lot of papers to report on minor findings based on some exercise that we ran in the lab, for example, or some design project that we worked on. So we would have results to communicate that will not be of global relevance to researchers worldwide, so they will not be published in a journal paper. However, they could still be, I would still need to communicate them in reporting my findings to my professor or to my colleagues, or sometimes if I'm writing something for for a school magazine, for example, or something like that, it still remains important to understand how to write science communications, how to write your ideas, to organize them, whether you have some new ideas to report. So you'll be just like somebody who's publishing a paper, or you were asked by your professor to read about a topic and to write a summary about it. So in that case, you would actually be writing something that's very similar to a review paper then. I hope this clarifies the mix-up here, if any. And if you have any need for follow-ups, please follow up with us on Q&A.
Yes.
Let's
yes,
move on,
Khalid,
minding the time, guys.
Yeah. Thanks, Khalid and Helmi, for the clarification. And I need also to highlight on what Khalid said, that I have seen many undergrad students who've worked on research papers or research projects, or even review articles, and published the papers at the end, because they learned the skills and they knew how to write or how to search the literature and find the proper or the good references to use, and how to write the paper in a good form, and at the end they could publish their work. So it's very important to learn these skills, or to build these skills while you're still students, and at the end you'll find the beneficial or you'll find how to publish your work at the end when you graduate, or while you are still students. I just brought this slide that's in front of you now, because I know that some of you are still confused on what's the peer review process. As we mentioned at the beginning, the peer review process is the process that not all the papers, but many of the papers, or the high quality papers or scientific papers, go through before being published. So this is the whole process. You as an author or as a researcher write your paper and submit it to a journal. The journal or the editors of the journal take your paper and either reject it from the beginning because it's not suitable for the journal, or take it and send it to reviewers. The reviewers are researchers in your same field. The reviewers review or read the paper and comment on the paper if they have comments, or if they need to edit anything, or if they need, for example, to ask about specific data. Where did you get this data? Or they can ask you like to validate your data more, or to send them more clarifications or anything. At the end, they send you their comments. You try to address their comments, or to edit what they asked you or what they required. And then the paper either be accepted to be published in the journal, or rejected, and you have to search for another journal to publish your paper. So this peer review process ensure the credibility of research, or makes you rely or be like more comfortable, or trust the data more, or the papers more. So we all try to use the credible academic platforms, as we will talk in a while, because in these platforms we will get credible papers, or credible research, or papers that were or that went through the peer review process. So we are sure that all the data we have are credible data, or trusted data, or high quality data, and we can use them and rely on them in our assignments, or in our projects or papers. So this is the peer review process. I'll go back to the review articles. As we were mentioning, I just put an article for you to know if some of you didn't see any articles before. This is like the outline of a paper if you opened it in any website. So this is a paper that I opened from Science Direct. We'll talk about Science Direct now, but a paper contains, as you'll see on the left, abstract, introduction to the topic, then the methods they used in their study, the results they got, then a discussion to interpret the results, and at the end a conclusion and the references that they used. So this is a paper, a research paper, and I'll go back to the difference between those two types again. What is the difference between a research paper and a review article, as we were saying, and I thought that knowing the outline or the structure of the paper might help you in knowing or in differentiating between the two types of papers. So as we said, the research paper is a paper that contain original ideas or original research or original study. So it will contain or you'll find the paper contain title, keywords, abstract, introduction, and this is those are similar in both types. But you will find materials and methods because it's original paper. So they used their or they had methods, or they used they go through specific steps to do their study and to get the results. So they will report on their materials, what did they use, the methods they used, the steps they went through to get the results. They will then report on the results or findings, what did they get or what happened in their study. Then a discussion that in the discussion they will interpret the results that they have and try to relate the results to what was already published in the literature. And at the end, they will write their conclusion. On the other hand, you'll find that the review article contains only introduction and body and a conclusion. Why? Because we said that it's a review of the literature or a summary of the papers that were published and addressed a field from a specific point of view or from a specific perspective. So I'll choose the point which I'll write my review article about. I have a point or a title. Then I have subtitles, or I'll decide to address this point from three perspectives or 3 points of view, or I'll write about 3 different headings. So I'll write an abstract, an introduction or background about the topic, and then write 3 headlines. In each headline, I have different paragraphs. I'll just cover this topic or this field or this point of view from different perspectives. And at the end, I write the conclusion, what I have written in the paper. And this paper will be like a summary in this topic, as we said, and I can go to it if I'm searching for background information or established information in the field. So this is the difference between a research paper and a review article, again, for you if you're still confused. Okay, we now talked about the textbooks, the journal articles as references. We still have too many of references, as we said in the beginning. We have the conference proceedings. What are conference proceedings? For you to know, the conferences are the annual or maybe biannual events. They are events where researchers or scholars or professors or even students gather and discuss research in specific field and present their work. So in the conferences, the proceedings or the conference papers will be a presentation for early work or studies that are still in progress, not finished papers. So they'll be short papers. They are not validated. The researchers didn't finish the work yet. It's still in progress, or even still in the idea process. So the researchers can like present their ideas to search for collaborators in the conference, for example, and then start working on their idea. So this is the difference. And here you'll find the difference between the the journal publication or the journal paper that we are talking about and the conference paper, you will find that the journal paper is longer and it takes more time to be published. So it's validated, it's peer reviewed, not like the conference paper. It presents the complete work. The conference paper, as we said, present work still in progress. And the journal paper, the more important thing is that the data is validated or have been validated, while the conference proceeding present data that were still concepts or in the development process or were not fully validated or something. However, in some fields, like for example in computer science, you'll find when you search, you'll find too many conference preceding publications. You can read them and try to find will they be important for you to use or not. And for you to know some of the conference publications, at the end or when they finish the work, they go and publish the work as journal articles. So you can find the work after that being published in journals. Okay, these were the conference proceedings. You'll also find dissertations or theses and dissertations, and the dissertations are the way
Hello, everybody. I'm sorry for this technical problem. Let me share my screen until.
Yes, I'm back now. I think I'm back now.
Okay.
I'm sorry for this. I had a problem trying to share my screen again. Yes. Okay. Hopefully you're now seeing the screen and hear my voice clearly. Okay. Okay. Going back to the dissertations as we were discussing. So if you're searching for a very detailed data about a topic, or you need to read a very long or comprehensive literature review on one topic, you can search for dissertation or for a thesis of a previous student. Okay. Okay, this is a structure, or this is one of the dissertations that were published before, or that you'll find on the internet. It takes the same structure of the research papers. I mean the same outline, but with a more longer or like more of a chapter form, not a paper, because the paper, the journal article, will be maximum 20 or 30 pages if it's a long paper. Some paper, you'll find some paper of 5 or 10 pages, for example. But the thesis will be let's say 60 or 60 papers, and you'll find more and more longer dissertations. That's it. Okay. The next type of references you'll find are the patents. And the patents, or a patent, is a form of intellectual property that gives the owner of the invention the legal right to exclude others from using his invention, or selling, or making the invention for a specific time or period time. In this time, the patent protects this technical invention, and when you search for patents in the internet, you'll find the name of the invention and the full technical description of the invention. So if you're searching for a specific method, or a specific technique, for example, you can go and search for patents, or look for who invented this technique, for example, or who invented this method, and then take what you want, or understand the technique, or write about it, or anything. At the end, you'll also have to cite this patent as your reference in the paper you are writing. There is another type of references also you'll find, and I think as you are, as many of you are engineering students, you'll get more to use this type of references, which is the technical standards or the codes. And the standards or the technical standards is like an established norm or requirement to do a repeatable technical task. So when you search for technical standards in the browsers or in the academic searching platforms, you can search by standard, and you'll find standards that were sourced from standards development organizations, and that's done in support or with the support of industry-funded projects. And searching by standards will facilitate your research, especially if you are engineering students, and also facilitate the work of researchers and engineers, as you'll find the data you'll want faster and easier. We'll talk about that in details in our next webinar, where we'll use the Engineering Village platform. I think Engineer Ahmed Helmi will talk about that with you in details tomorrow, right?
Yes, tomorrow it's going to be more focused on engineering strategies and research and searching, and we're utilizing engineering dedicated platforms like Engineering Village and Novel, where many of the universities and the students attending now have access to.
Yes. Okay, now we have discussed many types of references. As you see, we talked about the books and book chapters, the different types of journal articles, the conference proceedings, theses and dissertations, the patents, standards and codes. You'll also, when you search, you'll find guidelines or protocols, and the protocols are papers that discuss a procedure of doing an experiment, for example, and I think it's more common in the science fields. This is the structure, or this is one of the protocols I found on the internet. It's just the steps of doing the experiment, or the steps of doing something. This is a protocol. You'll also find other references like reports, courseware, corporate publications, or trade journals. And I know that many of you use the newspapers and magazines as references. This is one of the news that was published in New York Times. I just want to say that yes, you can use newspapers or websites or web pages as references, but we should limit that to the minimum. we can, because it's better to use academic papers or textbooks as references. As we were saying, they go through the peer review process, they are reviewed, they are credible, they are reliable, they are trustworthy. In newspapers, we're not, we can't be sure of that, but sometimes you'll find, or when you're, for example, writing an assignment about the prices or something, or about economical disaster or anything, you'll find that some of your information should be extracted from the news. So it's okay, but you have also to cite the reference at the end. I think we have now covered all the resources that you'll find when you start searching. If you're still confused, or if you have any question about the difference between any of these references, please write it in the Q&A box, and we'll try to address your questions at the end. Okay. So far, we should now know what's the academic process, what is scientific research, why it's important for me to learn the skills of scientific research. When I start searching, what are the different types of references I'll find, and what's the difference between them, and when should I use each reference. Now we'll try to talk briefly about the library solutions that we can use, and how can we use them, and what tools will help me searching and writing my assignments. And then we'll go through the reading process. So before talking about the tools that will help me in my research, we tried to show you how you as a student will go through a research process. So as a student, if I decided to do research in any field or any topic, or if I'm having assignment or a paper to write, what should I do? So I'll start with 3 different steps: searching, then reading and analyzing, then writing. In each step, I'll have to do sub-steps or more steps. So for example, in searching, I have to search to discover a topic, or to choose a topic from the beginning. If I have to write a paper, for example, I have to search first to select a topic that I'll write on. If I'm having a topic and I'll now start writing, I need to search to find references, or build my references to write or to extract information to write in this paper. So I need to search whether to find a topic or to find references. I now have a library of references, or I have many references. I'll have to read the references and start understanding the topic, then structure an outline for my paper. What will I write, or where will I start, and what should I add here, or what headings will I talk about, and everything. Then I read the papers, I'll extract information and write the information in or under these subtitles or under these titles. I'll have to learn how to write a draft of a paper, and after I finish my writing, I'll have to cite the references I used, or write the proper citation. And I know that this is something challenging for many of you, as you think that the writing the references is very confusing. But for you to know that there are lots of tools that will help you in all of these steps. For example, in the discovery step, you have Scopus, which you can use to search for papers, to discover a topic, or to find good papers or high quality papers, and so on. If your engineers or if you need more specialized tool, you have the Engineering Village platform, which is specialized or dedicated for engineers. And as we said, we'll talk about Engineering Village in details in tomorrow's webinar. If you're or if you need to find full text papers, or if you need to find full text references, you can use Science Direct, which is a platform of Elsevier that contain all the papers that were published by Elsevier journals. You can search for textbooks. You can use Novel if you need a dedicated tool for engineers. And you can use GeoFacets if you're a geoscience researcher or student on geology, geoscience, geoengineering, petroleum engineering, and so on. We'll also have a dedicated webinar about GeoFacets, third webinar in this series. So if you're interested, you can attend this webinar and know more about this field. At the end, when you're when you're writing your references or citations, you have Mendeley, which we'll talk about in our last webinar, the fourth part in this series. Mendeley will help you writing the references, arranging or organizing your library of referencing, knowing which reference you will use in each part. And at the end, when you're writing in a Word document or anything, it will help you writing your references with the proper citation or referencing style. It's very easy and comfortable in using. Okay, today in this webinar, we'll focus more on the second step, which is reading and analyzing. We'll know how to find papers and to read papers, or to start reading in a topic in the beginning. If I don't know anything about a topic and I want to start reading or first reading in a topic, or how to read a paper if I find a paper and I want to use it as a reference in my assignment, how to read the paper and how to extract information from the paper. We'll spend the time in tomorrow's webinar and the third webinar talking about or discussing the searching step, how to search and how to find references and how to select topics and everything in tomorrow and the third webinar. At our last webinar, we'll talk about the writing process, how to write without plagiarism, how to avoid plagiarism, how to write references, and how to cite our references, and so on. Okay, so talking about the reading process, I just wanted to mention briefly some of the tools at the beginning on how will we find papers, and then we will see how to read these papers. So we said that one of the tools that will help us in our search or in our research or in finding papers or in discovering a topic is Scopus. And for you to know, Scopus is a platform that's one of the largest abstract databases. You'll find there a very huge or massive database of abstracts of papers that were published from many publishers or from all the publishers around the world in different fields. So if you're an engineering student, if you're medicine, life science student, if you're even a social science student, you'll find your papers there. The most important thing is that all the data there are peer-reviewed. So when you're searching in Scopus, you're sure that the data you have are peer-reviewed, so they are trusted or high quality, and you can rely on them. And as we said, that's the difference between using a credible academic platform versus using Google Scholar, for example. You're now sure that the data you have are is credible or is trusted. This is a Scopus interface. If you open Scopus, you will find a search box. For example, here I searched for coronavirus or COVID-19, which is very trendy today, as you know. When you search with these two keywords, as you see, I got like 54,000 documents or results. I just want to use see what's on the right, the two boxes on the right. It's now the results now are sorted by the highest cited. So what's the highest cited? What's a citation? From the beginning of the lecture, we are saying citations. We need to write citations. We need to cite our references. So what's a citation? Also, if you see the first paper that appears, its title is Clinical Features of Patients, blah, blah, blah. The paper was cited 7 so that citations is also a process that's used in academia or in research. So when I'm writing a paper and I'm using an idea that was publishing the researcher, I should cite or I should write in my paper that this idea was Khalid's idea, for example, or this information was extracted from the paper that was authored or written by this author. So I'm giving him the credit of his work. In academia, I don't write anything. 7,000 other papers used this paper as reference in their publications. So 7,000 authors used information from this paper in another publication, and for you that means that this paper is a good paper or a high quality paper, because if it's not a good paper, no one will use it, or no one will use it as a reference. If too many researchers used one paper as a reference, so that means that the paper contains good data or high quality data, or the paper is very important in this field, and so on. That's it. Of course, or definitely Scopus contain other many features that will help you, but for now I just wanted you to know what is citation and how can we select papers, and how can we decide if this paper is important or not based on the citations. Okay. We can now go to the second tool that we can use, which is Science Direct. And as we said now, or as we just said, that Science Direct is the platform of Elsevier. You'll find here all the papers that were published by Elsevier journals, and all the textbooks that were published by Elsevier. You should also know that all the data on Science Direct are peer-reviewed. So if you search or if you use Science Direct, you'll be sure that all the data you'll get are credible data or trusted data or valid data, and you can rely on these information. This is the interface or the website of Science Direct. If you open Science Direct, you'll also find a searching box. You can search directly on Science Direct. We said we'll discuss the searching step in details tomorrow in tomorrow's webinar, but you can use Science Direct in searching and in finding papers. So if you searched in, if you wrote any keywords, or if you try to search for any topic, here you'll find many papers, and you can open any of the papers to see whether it's important for you or not. For example, I opened or I chose one of the paper for you to know the structure of the paper. So, for example, this paper is okay. I won't say if you're following me, try to look at the outline of the paper on the left, and just type on the chat box whether this paper is a journal article or a research paper or it's a review paper. From the outline, and we just discussed the difference between the outline of the research articles and the review articles. So I think it's easy. Yes, I'm receiving now some answers. Okay, great. Yes, excellent. Excellent. It's a review paper. This is a review paper. As you'll see in the outline, there is no methods or results. It's a review paper that has abstract, introduction, and then they divided their content or their topic to different subtitles, and at the end they wrote their conclusion and the references they used. So this is how we differentiate between articles and research papers and review papers. I want you also to see the box in the top. As we said, in Science Direct, you'll find the full text, so you can read the full paper while you're on the website, but you can also download the PDF of the paper to your laptop and work on the PDF afterwards. Also, if you're using the Science Direct platform, you'll find, as you can see on the right, you'll find some recommendations of similar articles to the article you're searching or you're reading. So also it's a good way if you're a junior researcher or still a student and you can't find proper references, you can use this tool, the recommended articles, which will recommend important papers for you or papers that may be important for you, and you can use them in your assignment or in your paper. I now hand over to my colleague Khalid. He will talk about reading, how to read papers and how to start reading in a topic. Khalid, are you here?
Yes, Shama, thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, I'll stop
today.
sharing.
So I'm just gonna go over quickly, and just allow me to share my screen.
Okay.
So just I wanted to introduce some of the key features that you can find on Science Direct, and it's available for everyone. So whether or not what your library is offering in terms of subscription, however, it remains that around more than 20% of Science Direct's content remains freely accessible, either as open access or free access. However, there are a lot of key technologies that can help us along the way when it comes to Science Direct, and they are available for everyone for free. So one key point of those is actually the topic pages on Science Direct. So the idea is that we are preparing a page that includes an introduction to different topics, more than 300,000 topics being covered to date, and we're expanding fast within those. The idea is that you need a one-stop page to understand the fundamentals and the needed information about a certain topic. And if you remember earlier, when we said that the most well-founded information would be found in books generally. So this is what happens here, is that we are collecting the basic definition of a certain keyword. So for example, this regression analysis, it has the definition here showing you where the reference is, what are the related terms to this one, and there are excerpts. These are like direct parts from Elsevier books. Whether or not you have an access to the entire book is a different thing, but here we have made all the necessary information that you need for a specific topic to be available in one place, with all the excerpts from different books on Science Direct, all the figures, all the tables, all the graphs that are basic and fundamental for you to know. And you can download this entire page here as a PDF. And the main difference between using this and using a crowdsourced forum or something like Wikipedia or others is that all of these informations are direct extracts from books, from actual academic books on published by Elsevier. And what you can see here is that there is actually the reference for each segment being prepared in the topic page being available. What we have been working on as well is that we are actually embedding. So whenever you are reading an article and you need the word regression analysis in an article on Science Direct, if you click on that link, it will actually bring you here. And the idea here is really to how to make those linked to one another, so that while you are reading, you are also discovering the new you are also discovering and knowing more about any words or phrases that might be new to you. This will help you, especially if you are trying to read into a topic or a field that that's not originally your own. You're working on some interdisciplinary research, for example. Moving forward, when it comes to searching strategies, there are many strategies when it comes to it. People usually try to use relevant keywords. They try to use different strategies, but the idea of you are trying to combine the relevant keywords as much as you can identify them, and we will later on tomorrow's session, we will discuss further how to identify the most relevant and the most important keywords when it comes to engineering sciences specifically. This will be very crucial top part of our webinar tomorrow, same time, and so some basics about searching in general. We use Boolean operators. Many engineering students and many engineering professionals are already well aware of Boolean operators having and, meaning that both keywords has to happen at the same time, or meaning that only one of two keywords needs to occur, and not to include one and exclude the other. So in terms of how to write a scientific paper itself. Apologies. So first thing that you would need to do is that you would need to read very carefully the title and abstract. The abstract has all the brief summary of what this paper is. It's just 150 words that's telling you what's in this paper, what to expect about this paper itself. So it would include what's the topic, why is it important, what was the method that was done in this research, what are the exciting results that they have gotten out of this research, and why is it important by the end of the day. So it will have all those four components that will tell you if this is a paper worthy of your time or not. I would advise that you start looking at the outline and section titles and see how much they match the abstract. You can zoom in into any part you want to later on, but just skim through the introduction first and read the conclusion to find out what the paper has actually reached at the end. So if this is a good paper for you to dive deep into the details of, so here, so this is again an example from Science Direct, but then again, this is really works the same with any other paper as well. On the HTML, you can jump to any section that you want here. This here is the title, this here is the abstract, and if a paper provides the highlights, these will be interesting. So these are key features and key findings within the paper itself. The second step actually is looking at the core part of the paper, which are the figures and the graphs representing the results. You are reading the important section, you are still trying to decide if you should read the paper into waterfall or not, but you're just at this point, you're collecting the important items out of the paper before diving deep into the entire paper itself. And you would read and highlight the important sections that are relevant to you, maybe share them with your colleagues through a solution like Mendeley, for example, where we could have your own team library if you're working in a team, for example. And these are just some of the solutions that are available by Elsevier. Your library might be providing you already to some of those, and there are many free features on those solutions that can actually help you as well if your library is not providing full access to the solution. So for Science Direct, there are journals, there are books. And as I said, more than 20% of the content on Science Direct is freely accessible for everyone on open access or free access basis. However, your library could be providing you with even more content, and it covers all fields: physical sciences and engineering, life sciences, health sciences, social sciences, and humanities. Scopus is our grandest database for collecting information about the research. It does not have full text, but it tracks information about the research published at more than 5,000 publishers. So Elsevier being just one of those 5,000 publishers whose research data are included into Scopus. And the key point about Scopus is that it tracks the citations. It helps you identify which paper is citing which paper. So later on, if I'm looking at a paper, as we will see with more details tomorrow, you can actually find out who has been citing that paper, for example, and how many people have been citing it. So you can actually assess its importance and its impact within the academic field. The third solution here is being Engineering Village. This is a highly specialized database about engineering research. It has journals, conferences, books, theses and dissertations, codes and standards. So it has information, abstract information that will help you, guide you to decide which resources you should actually visit and read. And it will help you with very advanced specialized engineering filters to filter down through the search and to understand better the keywords that are more relevant to your search, and maybe even look up papers by physical quantities. So I want papers that describe microwave within a range of a wavelength of a range of nanometers, for example. So you could actually identify this. You can say, I'm looking for searching about tunnels with a high physical quantity being mentioned more than 5 kilometers, for example. So you can do all of these. It's highly customized and tailored for engineering researchers, students, and engineering professionals. Third one is being Geofacets, and Geofacets and Novel, they both work on the same scheme of extracting the information for you from the full text and giving you those information in the way you would later on use them. So for Geofacets, that means that extracting tables, figures, maps from the papers discussing geosciences and giving you those in the format, in file formats that you can actually later on use. And we will see this during our third session in the series. We can see how to actually look the entire journals from more than 10 publishers for maps, select which maps are you're not looking for papers, you're looking for information itself, you're looking for the map, you're downloading the map, and in a format that works with your GIS software or Google Earth. So you're no longer downloading a PDF here, you're downloading the information as you would later on use it. Novel does the same, but with Elsevier references, with books from many publishers. It extracts the information, figures, and even equations out of books. So you could be looking for an equation to calculate something, and you're no longer looking for the book itself, you're actually looking for the equation. It will go through the PDFs it has on the database and get you that equation in an interactive format where you can just substitute in variables, for example, or you could look for material properties within a wider range. And the last thing will be included in our last webinar of this series is Mendeley. Mendeley has 2 versions. One of those versions is actually free for everyone, and the other is being provided by institutions. But however, we will be using some of the features available to all of us to help us organize our own libraries, to share them with our colleagues, to organize our teamwork, and to do proper citations while we are writing our own research output, and use it as social networking within academic circles. Then again, this works across all fields as well. So that's more into how the interface of Engineering Village, which will be discussed at more length tomorrow, as well as Novel. You can see here trying to map different keywords when it comes to engineering subject knowledge really here. And also this is how it looks for geofacets. You are starting off with a world map and you're selecting an area, typing in your keywords, and you're looking for certain information about underground water in a specific region, for example, that you have stated. And this is Novel, where you can search for materials from references, search for equations, and more that you can do here, which also will be covered at some length tomorrow as well. So just last point here, and I'm sorry for running overboard with the time. Just know that if your library is already providing you with subscriptions to some of the content being mentioned here, so you will need just to sign into any Elsevier solution or click on this link here, bit.ly/sd-eg. What you will need to do is just use your institutional email. Your institutional email should be recognized. If you don't have an institutional email and you believe your library should give you access to these resources while working from home, then you should contact your librarian directly. So that brings us to the end of this presentation here today. If you have, let's check if we still have any remaining Q&A. Ahmed, if you can help me with the questions here. Okay, so just let's quickly check if we have any unanswered questions. If you have any questions, please leave them on the Q&A here.
Sorry, I was talking while I'm muted. So the first question that we have, and please add more questions to the Q&A. What is the minimum length of a technical article for research and review? Is there a minimum length and a recommended number of pages?
So if I'm writing a research paper, it depends. There are multiple formats for a research article. Some of them could be short communication or letters. So if you're talking about a letter, that's something within the range of 6 pages, for example, that 6-8 pages. This is usually a figure that you will, there is some variability depending on the editorial policy of the journal or the conference proceedings where I'm publishing my work. If we're talking about a full-length research article, that's something that goes up to maybe something like 20 pages would be a figure that you'd see. So 12, 16, or 20 pages, for example. There are shorter communications which are called letters to the editor, but these are not usually peer-reviewed. These are just very quick remarks and something like a page or two. But a full-length research article could have a figure of 16 or 20 pages happening or recurring a lot here.
Okay, I think a general question that we've answered several times, but maybe worth repeating, are the platforms that we were talking about free or not? So just as a quick answer that many of your universities have access to Science Direct, have access to Engineering Village, to Novel. And now the idea here is these are all by subscription for your institution. So you have to ask your library, what does it provide? We also tried through this session to be as general as possible. So every university that you are working through or you're studying at has a proper library, and the library has a lot of resources. We try to cover what is an ANI service or an ANI platform. It's an abstracted indexing platform. What is a discovery platform? What is a full text platform? And every library in Africa has access to many solutions from many publishers. We use Science Direct, we used Engineering Village and Scopus and Novel as examples for our sessions because these are the Elsevier platforms that most of your universities subscribe to. But it is worth checking with your university. What is the recommended abstracted indexing platform for engineers? Is it Engineering Village, or do you only have access to Scopus? Or do they have also other solutions that you can have access to? What are the full text platforms as well? So again, it is very worth the while to ask and to go to your library catalog and understand what are the resources available to you. A lot of the attendees I can see from your universities have already access to Science Direct or have already access to Novel and Engineering Village through your university. So please just go to your library and sign into your system and look at your library catalog and search for Science Direct or search for Novel or search for Engineering Village, and you will find access. If you have remote access to your university, then directly you can utilize the platforms. If not, use your university email. And it has to be your official university email to log in any of those platforms, as it will recognize your university email as an authorized access, and it will give you access if it is part of your library catalog or your university library catalog. We tried to cover a little bit of the remote access, and we're going to cover it again tomorrow with Engineering Village. There is a general question, Khalid. Can you link your papers in Scopus to ResearchGate or to another platform called Academia or Academ.edu? Academia.edu, I think. That's another platform I'm not familiar with, Academia.edu. Can you link your Scopus to ResearchGate?
Yeah, so just let's differentiate between the platforms being mentioned here, because they are very different. They do very different things here. So Scopus is a curated platform, means that the only way a record or information about a paper could be added into a database like Scopus or Engineering Village, because they're curated, it has to have that the journal has been approved by the database. And whenever this journal publishes a new paper, it would be added to Scopus or it would be added to Engineering Village. And I, as an author, I cannot add a paper that's not already existing by a journal that has been approved and confirmed for its working quality by the databases in question here. Whereas ResearchGate and Academia.edu, for example, or Mendeley in that sense, are called academic social networks, where I have my own profile. I create my own profile myself. I am the one who's responsible in maintaining it. I'm the one who's responsible in adding content to it. Scopus could be linked automatically to Mendeley into that sense. So whenever you are publishing a new paper and it has been added to the Scopus database, it would be reflected on your personal Mendeley profile as well, or you could just add in your paper yourself onto the Mendeley, on your Mendeley profile as well. We do have a lot of concerns when it comes to ResearchGate in terms of some ethical questions that we have over ResearchGate specifically, especially when it comes to maintaining copyrights, for example, or and also the way it's trying to provide metrics and to evaluate the research impact. These are not very clear, there are a lot of questions that not only we cast, it's been cast very widely within the academic community as well when it comes to ResearchGate. Academia.edu could be a very specific case because it's part social network, but it's not, its edu domain is really misleading here, if I might say, because it's not a university. So just make sure that it's just an academic social network like ResearchGate, for example.
Okay, Khalid, can you please drop the link that you've just mentioned on the chat so people can copy it as well, where they can log with their university emails?
Yeah, sure.
I see a number of questions still talking about research topics and gaps. We will cover extensively tomorrow how to build your search and research strategy and how to decide on a topic. So please tune in tomorrow for the webinar where we're going to be much more focusing on this particular area. And about access, please contact or check your library catalog and log into your library system, and then look for the resources that will make your life easier. And you'll find many, many resources. And once you click on Science Direct or any other platform, just go to register. And when you register, you can just use your official university email, and then you'll have remote access. Khalid, do you want to add anything before we finish?
Yeah, so I just want to share the link for
can you stop the live on YouTube first, please?
Yeah, sure. I
Okay.
believe it is something that only you can do now,